So I've loved deeply here. I know what that love is, and it's the most powerful force on earth. The love over there is a pure love. And it doesn't mean that you can't have pure love here. Like I said, it's very difficult, some of the concepts. The love of a husband or a wife or a child, or seeing the birth of your child, and you think that it's such bliss or it's not going to get better. It's 100 times better. It's, I think, a love that I can't explain, but you would have to experience it. And I didn't expect that. So all you people that are watching that think it's the product of your brain, how do you explain that? How do you explain to me, because I know love here and I know love there. Every cell, every part of you that makes you who you are is bathed in this pure bliss of safety and security and love, and that you never want to leave. This is why when some people are given the choice, they say, I'm not coming back. If you listen to near-death stories, I was given a choice and there's no way I'm going back there. To be here is hard. This isn't heaven. This is a working planet. So you have to come to a belief system of how that fits or assimilates. How do you assimilate suffering in this? Some people call it a school, a hospital, a working planet, whatever you call this. This is not that. And what you bring there is what you're able to work through and work out in your own heart. You bring your heart there. You bring the essence of your heart and love there.
But I kept thinking, oh, it's going too fast. I can't really see. It was almost like I was watching a PowerPoint slideshow that was just going too quickly, and you want to tell the speaker, hey, slow down, I want to take notes. But I received the message that it really was not about the events. The important message was to watch how those events affected the souls. And I started focusing on the orbs of light and the souls, and the message was given to me that nothing could harm the souls. No matter what these events were, that the soul remained immortal and intact. And I was shown a lot of things. I mean, births, deaths, and some pretty frightening images, conflict, war, people who had been traumatized in different ways. And again, I focused on watching the light, and I was told repeatedly, you see, none of these things can affect the soul. This is who you are. And nothing that's happened to you in your own life can really affect this, except for one thing. I thought, well, what is that? What is that one thing? And then I was shown slower images of events from both my life and from the life of the other orbs in the matrix. And the commonality of these events were all events where people had shown love or tremendous compassion to people who were suffering. They had helped somebody, smiled at somebody in a grocery store, simple events, or helped somebody through a tremendous illness, or shown compassion. And when those events were shown to me, and they were very clear that they were events of love and compassion, the lights became intensely brighter. Their vibration became quicker. It's the only way I can describe it. It was kind of a vibration of energy and light that became so intensely bright. And the message that I received was, you see, this is who we are. This is who we were created to be. We are loving beings. Love and compassion is what makes us. This is where we came from. This is where we're going to return to. And this is really all that matters. This is really all that can impact the soul. And I remember just taking that message in and just feeling just so warmed and overwhelmed with that amount of love that I was witnessing and feeling. And I can only describe it as an unearthly love. It was nothing like any love I had experienced. The closest I can describe it, really, and it doesn't even come close, was really remembering when my first child was born and holding him and just locking eyes with him, feeling a love overtake me that I really had never felt for anybody before, and knowing that we would be connected forever on a spiritual level. That's the closest I can come, but it really doesn't even describe it. And it was just so wonderful. I thought, well, you know what? I really never, ever want to leave this place. I want to be here. I'm home. I know that this is where I came from, and now I'm back here, and there's nothing that's ever going to get me to leave here.
And even though he was not moving his mouth when he talked with me, I could hear the sound of his voice in my inner ear. I know what he sounded like. So it was a mental transmission, and yet I could hear what he sounded like. For a long, long time, I could remember the sound of his voice. And I said to him again then, everything that has happened to me since I crossed over is so beautiful. Everything is so perfect. What about my sins? And he said, there are no sins, not the way you think of them on earth. He said, the only thing that has any meaning here is what you think. And then he asked me a question. He said, what is in your heart? And in some incredible way that I don't understand at all, I was enabled to look deeply inside myself, really into the very core of me, into my essence. And I saw that what was there was love and nothing else. My core was perfect love, loving perfection. I had complete love and acceptance for everything. I saw my own gentleness, tenderness, harmlessness. I simply was perfect and loving. And I said to him, of course. And I had the feeling that I was connecting with knowledge that I had known before. And I wondered, how on earth did I ever forget anything that important? I have known that. And then I said, can you tell me what everything is all about? The whole world, everything. And he said, yes. And he told me, and it took maybe 3 sentences at the most. It was so simple. I understood that immediately. I had total comprehension of what he was saying to me. And I remember again saying to him, of course. And it was that feeling again of reconnecting with knowledge that I had once had, and wondering how on earth did I forget that?
And the answer I got back from this being, first of all, this being is next to me. I'm feeling, I'm going to say him, watch these things with me and experience these things with me. And I'm feeling really pretty small at that point. And the communication I get back from him through this tidal wave of love, and it's totally, it's what's the word I'm looking for? It's total acceptance, and no judgment whatsoever. And the communication that comes through is everything happened the way it was supposed to, and it's okay. So I thought, wow. And so all of these other questions about what had happened in my life, or other questions that I'd had in my life that I'd never been able to answer, all of these questions, all of a sudden, popping off like 1,000 flashbulbs. Question, question, question. And as soon as I'd asked them, they were answered entirely and satisfactorily. And the way that I felt when I got those answers were, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, yeah. All of that makes perfect sense now. So, and as I was experiencing, as I'm enveloped in this love, there's no way to describe the power of it. And I'm feeling the experience of it, and I'm feeling the presence of what I'll call God. And it's total love. It's this amazing power. My sense was it was the power that created us, that created the universe, that created everything. And that we were part of that. And that God doesn't exist out there somewhere. We exist within the consciousness of God, of this, what we'll call God.
As I left my body, I was still every bit of the person I am today. I had the same thoughts, the same feelings. All I was doing was leaving my body. And I have to tell you quite truthfully, I was very happy about that. Because my body was causing me a lot of problems. It was dying, and I didn't want to die. I wanted to keep living. So when I left my body, it was really delightful to find that I was still present. And so I got into the tunnel without my body. I just left it. And I went to heaven. And when I got to heaven, it was absolutely wonderful. And I'm sure those of you who've been here before are used to hearing what heaven is like, and know that none of us really have any words to fully describe what it feels like. We just don't have the vocabulary here. But what I remember so clearly, and the best words I can use are, first of all, I say, think about the most wonderful or pleasurable experience that you've ever had in your entire life. And multiply that by infinity. It doesn't come close. It doesn't come close. That's the closest I can come to describing it. It doesn't come close. And I see Donna here nodding in agreement. It doesn't. But what it felt like, you're in a place of such total acceptance. You're at one with everything. There is love everywhere. You become part of the love and light. So it goes through you and you start emanating. You are totally part of that. You are complete. Everything is tranquil, everything is peaceful. There's no judgment anywhere. You are just part of the love and light. It was the most wonderful experience I've ever had in my entire life. And I never wanted to leave. I was shown a couple of things that I want to talk about while I was there. And one of the things that was fascinating to me is that I was shown a picture of the Earth way far away. And I was shown millions and millions and millions of tiny silver cords. And I was made to understand that everything is connected to everything else, and that nothing happens by chance. Absolutely nothing happens by chance. And that was fascinating to me, absolutely fascinating. And the other thing that I came to understand is that it's all about love and relationships. That's why we're here. That every opportunity we have in this lifetime, every breath we take, every move we make, is all about, it's another opportunity for love and relationships. Nothing else matters. It doesn't matter what job you have, what car you have, what house, what you do, what church you go to. None of that matters. Those are all just vehicles for love and relationships. That's all that's important.
When we have these experiences, people go try to explain it, and you explain it, and then the person explaining it, the person who's had the experience, I don't know, for me, I always felt like it fell short. It's like, no, that's not really, that's kind of what happened, but, to explain how you feel, to explain unconditional love. I remember as a young kid, did not even know the vocabulary, but I remember saying, people on earth don't know about unconditional love. People on earth know about love with lots of conditions. I'll love you if you do this, I'll love you if you do this, I'll love you if you look like this or dress like this or treat me like this. we have moments of knowing unconditional love. When a child is born, a wanted child is born, I think there's a moment of unconditional love when that child comes in and you look at them for the first time and you just go, you know, I feel like my heart is going to burst because I feel so much love for them. I also think when somebody dies, you can have that experience. And I think people have that experience of unconditional love when they're letting a loved one go, because that's unconditional. You know, there's a lot of reasons why you could say, stay here, don't leave me. And it takes unconditional love to say, I'm going to take a deep breath and say, it's okay to go. I'm going to let you go. That's unconditional love.
The bottom line is we're eternal. We don't die when our body dies. So, what does this lead us to have to consider about ourselves if we're eternal souls? Well, we hear we're created in the image and likeness of God, but what does that mean? I've come to believe for myself it has nothing to do with our physical appearance. It has to do with our soul that is within us and the love that we are. God is love, and I believe that we are created as love as well.
I was one with every blade of grass as it moved, one with the tree and the light that it was drinking in through its branches, and that light was love itself. Because of that, my new creed is that God is love, right? Those are synonyms. So our task is to become it and to realize we are it. Your spirituality is not determined so much by what you believe as it is by how you love. Breaks down all the walls, doesn't it?
And I remember, as I'm walking, thinking, this is just pure love. I just had this unconditional love that emanated from my very being. I can't put it into words exactly how I felt or exactly how to describe this love. I've held three of my children in my arms when they were first born, and you have that, your heart swells and you just feel so loving, and it's nothing like that. I can only say that doesn't even come close to the unconditional love I felt.
It wasn't just light, it was substance and feeling, and it's all around me. It's all I can see, all I can feel, all I can experience, and I don't have words for it. How do you describe unconditional love? I don't know how to describe it. All I know is I have never felt so cared about, adored, cherished, safe. Anything you'd ever wished for to have in the world in that moment is what I felt. Satisfied beyond my wildest dream.
The faster I shot toward this light, the more my heart opened. And as my heart opened, I experienced infinite love. Infinite love. It's no words to describe the love. With the love, there was an infinite ecstasy associated with the love. It was a complete love. It was not physical, it was electrical, but it was completely unified. The love and the ecstasy was unified. People, when they fall in love and when they make love, there's a ceiling, from the floor to the ceiling. You know, you love your significant other, and you make love and all that. There's a ceiling. It's finite. In this spirit, this reality, there was no limits. There was no limits. So therefore, the heart completely opened up, and then the spiritual aspect, the soul aspect, the higher self aspect of us went straight to that light. What was left behind was nothingness, completely nothingness. All I could see was light. I didn't see any things, nothing at all. Also, nothing but darkness and light. Within the light, there was intelligence. And within the intelligence, there were sentient beings within the light. And again, I didn't see anything at all except for the light. The sentient beings I know because they are associated with my studies. I won't give any names or anything like that, but I know. If I was a Christian, I would call the light Jesus. If I was a Buddhist, I would call the light Buddha. If I was a Hindu, it would be Krishna, whatever it was. The light becomes what we believe, what we associate with. And that's immaterial. It doesn't make any difference what we call the light, because it's love.
So I just felt this unbelievable love, unconditional acceptance, love. No matter what I'd done, who I was, where I'd been, there was just this incredible love. And I could feel all these beings around him, angelic beings, just beaming love. I've never felt love like that in my life before. So I got back into my body, and it's as if everything that I had done up until then, my whole life, I was a school teacher, I had a mortgage, I was buying a house, I had a career plan. All of that was utterly meaningless, because all I wanted was to be in this love and to take everybody to have that experience before they die. Because I know that after you die, as long as you can come to a place of peace with the dying process, is that you go immediately into the golden light. People who die in resistance and pain, they have to go first to the healing places and be helped, and then they move on into the light. But if you can leave with acceptance, grace and serenity, then this is where you're going to go. So that really is my mission now, is that I seek in my life to help others to experience that feeling while they're still alive, because it completely changed my life.
Now, it was very surprising to me being a Hindu, how could the angels showed up? And when I told my wife's first reaction was, what happened to thousands of Indian gods and goddesses? None of them showed up. And from there, I was guided by the angels towards a meadow. The meadow was beautiful with roses of different colors. A clear water stream was flowing, and there was sweet smell to the air. And there was a distant chant which sounded like Om or Ang to be correct, which I later on found was a primordial form of Om. And then as I went higher and higher in the realm, the consciousness became more formless. That's what the angels had told me too, that at the highest level the consciousness is totally formless. And then I found myself in front of a light. The light was like about 1,000 suns blazing at the same time, but it was not hurting the eyes. I felt unconditional love, like I talk about, I could see love, I could hear love, I could touch love, I could taste love, and I could smell love. It was love all around. It's very hard to describe it, but the best word I have come to describe it, the word I felt, was a Sanskrit word, Shanti, which means cosmic peace, cosmic harmony, and bliss.
The feeling once you cross over is very, very intense. It's like 100 to 1,000 times stronger than the sensation you have when you're in the body, when you're here on earth. And so the first thing I feel is then love. Like I really feel this intense, all overpowering sensation of love. And at the same time, I understand that this love, this energy, whatever I'm in, that is the truth, that is what the universe is made of, that is the truth of existence. And I realize that is what people call God, or whatever we want to call it. I realized this is the truth. And once I realized that, oh, wow, this is the truth, then I remember thinking to myself that, oh my God, I didn't know that love was the truth. I was an atheist before, and maybe sometimes I've been selfish and so forth, but I never realized that there's actually a truth in the universe, and that truth is love. So as soon as I said that, oh my God, I didn't know, I fell into, I don't know how it happened, because I felt guilty, or because maybe I've heard some theories that maybe I'd been separated from that love. But either way, because I said, oh my God, I didn't know, I fell into a life review.
Because it was so much suffering. I suffered so much suffering that I had given away, intentionally and unintentionally. And I judged myself as guilty and shameful. And it was everything that I'd ever done from the moment of my birth, to intend and not intend to hurt. And I conceive, because I'm a Christian minister, I conceive of that as sin now. The pain that I gave to people. And meanwhile, as I was going through this experience of self-judgment, the voice was saying to me, I know you. I've always known you. You are my creature. I made you. I make you. I love you as you are. I have always loved you. I loved you into being. I love you with all the pain you caused, and I love you without it. I love all of you. And none of this is a surprise to me. I know this about you already. And because I felt shame at my actions, in comparison with the infinity of love, I judged myself guilty, and I was forgiven. Jesus talks about the kernel and the chaff gets burned off in the fire, sort of like that. And then all of the pain was gone. And I was left with only love and beauty and joy and truth and hope and compassion, all one thing. And I got to bring with me into heaven all of the love that I'd ever given away and all of the love that was ever given to me. And that was the treasure of myself. And I said to the voice, am I dead? And the voice said, yes, you're dead. And I said, well, I can't die now. And the voice said, why? And I said, well, because of my sister and my parents. If I take another child from my parents, they will suffer. So God swept me and showed me all of earth. And in showing me all of earth, I saw that the length of my life was the wink of an eye. And timelessness, time has no meaning. And I saw every human being on earth individualized. And I saw them loved in the same way that I was loved in heaven. And God said to me, in the way that I love you now, you know that I've always loved you. And it was self-evident to me that God's love is the size of the cosmos, the billions and billions of years that the universe has existed. And the greatest love I'd ever experienced in my life was a speck of dust in comparison. The immensity and infinite love of God is unbelievably overwhelming. And that's the love I'd always been loved with. And I knew that to be true. And I knew that every single human being was loved in the same way. But the difference between the human beings and me was that they couldn't see. They were still in the world with a veil, not knowing the immensity of love. Couldn't know it, not built into the structure, but still loved nonetheless. And God showed me my parents in particular. And I could see their faces and I could see their suffering. And God said to me, all will be well with them, because all has always been well, and all will be well, and all is well, because I love them. And you know this to be true. And I knew it to be true, that in the end, my parents would no longer suffer, because in death, they would be immersed in the ocean of love.
And in that moment, a beam of pure white came out of the sky and came down and touched me on my shoulder. I was so filled with love. It's impossible to describe how much love there was in that moment. All the love of the world. It filled my whole entire body. Every cell of my body was completely infused with this love. It was the love of a parent for their precious child. And in the same moment, I recognized that I always knew this, that this truth was always there for me. And I was remembering, and not just learning something new, I was remembering I am part of this love. I am God, and God is me. It doesn't really convey the truth to say the words. It doesn't come close to. Anyway, as this beam touched me, suddenly I was viewing this scene of the road as I was driving down from 3 different places. I was seeing it from my body, and I was seeing it from the passenger seat. From the passenger seat, I could see it with my intellect. I was observing clearly the edges of the beam and thinking, that's not light. And it's diffused at the top, and it comes to a point on my shoulder, and it came through the window, and it touched me and had contact. And so I was just like, not really in that. It wasn't until later that I really could process that information, but I was just taking it all in. And then from the behind, from the the back passenger seat, I was just all the love, this emotion. It's an incredible amount of emotion. And then my soul went out of my heart. My soul went up the beam. And as it went up the beam, I felt so connected to all the souls. As I reached the top of the beam, I rippled out in concentric circles. And I became one with every soul on the planet. And then my focus shifted again, and I was all of the entire universe. Complete. The entire universe. So humongous. At the same time. I don't know how, but I could see the smallest, tiniest particle of what the universe is made out of. It was this massive, uniform field of particle, and at the tiniest level, the tiniest particle, smaller than anything that I know that we can record. It was pure white. Pure, and this was sort of a radiant light, and this particle was pure energy. But more than that, this particle that everything in the entire universe is made out of is love. Like a tangible love that is the stuff of God. And it just blew me away. It was awesome.
The most common aspect of NDEs is the feeling, the intense feeling of love. And this love floods into you. It just floods in. You don't have to ask it. It is no conditions. You don't have to sign something. You're accepted and loved for whatever you are, for whatever you've done. There's no conditions on this love. So I pass that along to you. If it helps relieve any fear of the other side, take it from me. You will be there was one time I was taking the kids skiing and with the church group, and one of the girls in the back seat, oh, when you die, that's it. There's nothing else. This is just it. And I turned around and I said, boy, are you going to be surprised. So Look forward to it. It's really a love that probably the closest love would be mothers for her children, as described in some literature. That's probably the closest you'll feel here on earth for that love. So relax in it, be comfortable in it. The love is on the other side. You will get to heaven regardless of what you've done, regardless of who you are. You will be accepted and you will be loved. And it's a perfect love. In that sense, then what are we doing here? You know, in the past number of years, well, it's been almost 40 years. In the past years, then I feel, well, gosh, if I know that, how does that relate to here? And I started asking the question, why does this 3D time-space need to exist? If God is all-knowing, all-powerful, you know, in control of everything, lacks nothing, well, what is this about? Why does this need to exist? And there was a book out, a little book, which I don't think it's published anymore, called U-Mail. Sort of like email. U-Mail is you throw your question out to the universe. U-Mail, universe mail. So you throw it out to the universe and wait for an answer. So I threw out to the universe, what are we doing here that's satisfying the need for our being here? And it was a couple of months later, waking up, and it was almost verbal. These words came back, love does not know fear. And I thought, so, what's that have to do with my question? But I thought about it, and the more I thought about it, okay, love does not know fear. So, if this pure unconditional love, and in that, what's the opposite of love? It's not hate. The opposite of love is fear. And pure unconditional love eliminates fear. You cannot have fear. That's why when you're on the other side, the pain is gone and the fear is gone. That's why probably on the other side, if we're signing an agreement to come do something on this side, that's why we're very happy to sign and come. When we get over here, we may forget that. But love does not know fear. And from that, then a whole myriad of things come along. What we're doing here, we can't do in heaven. That's why this exists. What we're doing here, we're using that love. I see an evolution going on. That if heaven is going to come to earth, then it's got to come one step at a time. So we, in us, have what I use the metaphor, just like we talked about or sang about, the ocean of love. We are a drop of that ocean of love. We're a drop inside. I call it our core. And in our core, we are that perfect love. And in our core, we are that total unconditional love. And from that core, we have all of the power that the ocean has. And we can give that love forever and have none less. Love is not like an economic model, all right? You don't have to receive love in order to give it away. You have been given it. You have been given all of the love that you will need forever. And that love is inextinguishable. You can give it and give it and give it and have none less. All you have to do is give it. So don't think it's like dollars and cents. You've got an unlimited supply. Yeah, maybe it's difficult if you say, look, I've been abused all my life and I can't be a loving person. Well, as my friend would say, well, suck it up. Be the loving person that you are on the inside. Go there and get rid of all these other little pains and so forth. Another revelation that occurred to me, I don't remember exactly where I was, but it's one of those times when something will flash in front of you, or it's like, oh, I understand. I was walking down the street somewhere. It was in downtown, and another step, and I thought, oh, I get it. It makes sense. My being here is not about me. Right? We live in an I world. We have iPhones and iPads. It's all about us. It's all about getting it now. But in the real sense, our being here is not about us. I see an evolution going on of this love energy, essentially bringing heaven to earth, going through time-space. And that's what we're here to do. We're here to bring love to every instant of our life and use that love to reduce the fear. And every instant is a new fear. Okay. But if you've got unconditional love, which we all have, if you can use that to reduce that fear, you're assisting the evolution of love energy or the evolution of heaven coming to earth. Love is the power. It is the energy. There is no other energy. And that energy has the power and will come to earth. Heaven will come to earth. Right?
I think that I do know what he was telling me, even though I can't, recall the actual 2 or 3 sentences. I know that it has to do with love, and I believe that it has to do with what I was enabled to see when he said, "What is in your heart?" And I looked inside myself and saw that I was perfect love. Now, that doesn't apply to just me. That applies to all human beings. That is what we are. That is our core. This perfection, this love, this Godness. I believe that what it's all about is the world will keep turning and we will have all these experiences and it will go on forever and ever and ever as we learn to bring that into our consciousness and have it remain there all the time. Our connection with God just there, not somewhere in our unconscious, but consciously aware all the time of who we really are. I think that's what the journey is.